We will give it our usual time. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is Janet Dermody here with a serious topic today on recovery, addicts, and a lot of important areas. I've got my special guest today, Liv Howard, and she's a resident down in Whitney Pier. And I've got a couple other people that are lined up to come in. Whether they come on or not, we'll see. For now, I would like to present a slideshow that I presented, and then Liv's going to get into telling us some personal information along her road to recovery and, the steps that helped her to get there. So right now, we're going to do a slideshow, okay? Apologies. So this slideshow is basically, it's a harm reduction is what's going on with our centers at the Alley Center, okay? But we feel it's the harm reduction is leading to harm production. Now we're going to get to how the harm reduction leads to harm production, okay? And we need to be giving people a hand up and not a hand out, because that just keeps them looking for more. And it doesn't provide anybody with any help in the long run, okay? It might help right now, but we need long-term solutions. So there are 3 strategies that are often used to treat addiction, all right? And this information came straight from the Cleveland Clinic. Cleveland Clinic has been operating for over 100 years. They're in the United States, and they have tried and true methods. These are very effective, okay? So what are their 3 strategies that they say? Very first one is detoxification. Detoxification. Next is cognitive and behavioral therapies. They do use medication to assist the therapies, but you don't get medicated with narcotics to get off of narcotics. It's a different type of medication. So individual, group, family therapy can help identify the root of the cause of it, because you just don't wake up and decide you're going to be a drug addict. Something pushes you to that. Something in your life makes you snap. There's a stressor in your environment. So it's 100% to do with your environment that you're in, and to not address the stressors is never going to help the person to live a productive life and to join the community and to live successfully. So these stressors that do this, we need to help people to better cope with their life skills, okay? So it's whether you're repairing your relationship, you learn to live healthier, coping skills, and then medication is used along the way because it helps you to prevent relapses and any treatment, reoccurring mental health. There's a lot of different things that portray or build, the life of an addict. They don't just become one. There's things that lead to it. So prevention is the key. So there are 6 recovery skills that need to be, focused on and practiced on. And these come from the World Health Organization. Not that I advocate for them, but I mean, these are very tried and true. Communication and interpersonal skills. The way that we communicate and the way that we absorb information, we could take everything people say to us as an attack, and we could always feel like we're being attacked. And with that type of mentality, if we're always thinking that people are out to get us, it's going to leave us to a non-healthy mental state. Creative and critical thinking. So those also help people to realize that this isn't the life I want. They need to be better at problem solving, more effective decision making, and not be, led down a path by people making the decisions for them that, having a little bit of narcotics is going to help you to get off narcotics. You don't go to an AA meeting and get a beer or a shot and start the meeting. All right. You don't go to Gambling Anonymous and have a little play at the roulette wheel and then let's talk about how you're going to get off the roulette wheel. It doesn't work like that. Abstinence and detoxification are the only ways that we can get people on the right track in life. All right. They need to have self-awareness. They need assertiveness. They have to have self-control. We need to be helping people build the resilience and their ability to cope, because without any of those skills, they're on a path for failure. All right. We're not looking to make people's lives miserable. We want to help people. So, what's the best form of treatment for substance disorders? Research shows that when treating addictions to opioids, prescriptions, pain relievers, drugs like heroin and fentanyl, that they do use medication for the first line. Medication like Valium to take the anxiety down, antidepressant pills to help with retraining your brain. Okay. Because usually combined with some form of behavioral therapy or counseling, medications are also available to help treat addiction of alcohol and nicotine. So, used in the right way, they do help, but you have to use the right medication. Okay. So, giving addicts access to drugs doesn't help. Well, it's more likely that someone's going to continue substances if they're legally and easily readily available. The increase in risk of progression to problematic use, well, that's what's happening. It's creating crises in every community across, Canada. It's not just happening here in Cape Breton. There's communities over in Prince Edward Island. There's communities in New Brunswick. There's communities, if you can name a community, it's happening there. And we need to stop this before it gets any further out of hand. We're not helping our people. These are our family. These are our friends. These are our neighbors. We need to do more and do better. So opiates are example of, the availability of volume of prescription to opiates. It's making them easier to access, making it harder for them to come off of these things. If you have ever been through a recovery program and you've had an actual addiction, you're not going to go into a place and try to stay away from something when everybody around you is doing it. How That's no way to force people to have self-control by forcing them to face their demons. We need to be able to remove these obstacles out of their path and give them a complete environment that doesn't subject them to what they're trying to escape. You don't fight a devil with a devil. It's not how it works. So it access to substances is a particularly significant environmental risk factor. So if we're trying to help them to recover from these substances, we can't have them around these substances. That's just common knowledge, all right? So we're not helping by putting anyone's lives in danger, whether it's a community member or an addict. We all deserve to live without fear and to live a healthy life in our community. All right, so I'm going to remove this from the stage now. And Liv, how about you tell us about your story of recovery, okay, darling?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Liv Howard, and I am a resident of Whitney Pier. I moved here 2 years ago from Ontario, and the reason I moved here was in hopes to, continue to live a life in sobriety and better myself. And so far, that has been working. When I was 13 years old, I'm now 22, I fell into a very deep depression. My best friend had committed suicide at the raw age of 13 years old due to mental health problems. And I also was struggling with an ongoing toxic relationship with my father. And so in that depression, I, started drifting away from my supports, my family, and sort of went into my own little world. My grades in school started to not be good, and my friend group became a lot smaller. By the age of 15, I still had not dealt with those issues that I was struggling with, and I started drifting towards smoking weed. I did that for a while, and then I got into hard stuff. I went from, smoking weed casually to, I like to say that, the saying, it takes one try and you're hooked. That became my reality. So I stopped going to school. I quit my first job at a grocery store. I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. I eventually was getting into fights with my mom and stepdad on the daily, which was leading to, they didn't want to be around me. I didn't want to be around them. And then it got to the point where I was no longer welcome in my family home, which I don't blame my family for not wanting me there. I was very destructive. I was assaulting people. I was stealing. All I cared about was my next high and how I was going to get there. So it actually led to my mom having to give up custody of me because she was unable to she wasn't able to afford me to get into treatment centers. And so she knew that if I was in the care of CAS, I was going to have full access to programs that were going to help me get sober. And that's exactly what happened. Within a month of being in the care of Children's Aid Society, I was on a wait list to go into a 6-month rehabilitation program for teens. In the meantime, the 4 weeks leading up to getting the next available bed, I was charged with possession, assault, mischief. The list really just goes on. And when I did get into that program, I didn't want to be there. I wasn't committing myself to the programs to achieve sobriety and maintain sobriety. I wasn't working the program, and I eventually got kicked out of that program. CAS pretty much washed their hands of me and gave my mom custody back. And for a while, I was doing good back at home. I wanted to have the relationships back that I had with my family, but I also didn't want to maintain sobriety. So I was using again, and eventually at the time I was 16. So I ended up on my own living with friends. And so that continued on and off for years, going from this house to another house, couch surfing. My drug use got a lot worse. I was then using even more worse drugs. And I had no one supportive in my life. My mom didn't want anything to do with me. My sisters, my cousins, no one. And so I did overdose, and that was kind of my breaking point of, like, what am I doing with my life? I literally have nothing. And so that's when I decided that I wanted to change my life around. And so I went to a detox program in Ontario. And I was there for 2 days, and I thought I was dying. I really did. Coming off those drugs by myself. I didn't have anyone beside me walking me through it. And when I did get out of that detox program, it took about 3 weeks of sitting there by myself, isolating myself in order to to continue being in the mindset of staying clean. Fast forward, here I am. I'm 22 years old, and I am a mother of 4 children, 3.5-year-old twins, a 2-year-old, and a 6-month-old. And it wasn't until I got pregnant with my twins 3.5 years ago that I really looked at myself in the mirror and said, you can do it. You can stay clean. You just have to keep working the program. And so I know that, sorry, I don't like public speaking, so this is very hard for me, but
You're doing fantastic, honey.
I'm trying to get to my point here. In the time that it took me, like in the addiction and then getting clean, staying clean, I had to isolate myself from anyone that had anything to do with that lifestyle. I couldn't, go go for walks in places that I would normally, because I knew people were going to be there and they were going to be using, whether that was just drinking, smoking weed, or doing heavier stuff. I had to cut off all contact with those friends. And it was really hard. But the biggest thing for me was that you can't be in that situation and try and maintain what you're trying to achieve. And so my biggest problem with today's programs and this harm reduction is that when you're in a situation everyone's using, you're not going to get clean, whether you want to or you don't want to. There's just no getting clean in that environment. And also with these harm reduction programs, there's nothing about promoting rehabilitation. It's just, we have the safe space for you to use, we have the tools for you to use, and you can continue to use without being arrested.
Now, not to cut you off out of your story, but as someone who went down the road of recovery and who's still, it's a road for life. How does that make you feel that if you now had to go in and look for help, that you would have to be surrounded by active users? Do you think that impacts people who really want to be away from it, being exposed to it?
Well, I think it would be impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm at a spot in my life where I don't think about using. I mean, I'm very busy with my kids, my marriage. My husband owns a business. Like, my life is very busy in positive ways.
Excellent.
But if you put someone beside me with my drug of choice, as happy as I am today, I don't think I would be able to resist using. I really don't.
That stabs me in the heart because my brother, I only have one brother, my brother died from drug use, and he tried to get help, but the hospitals failed him. He had mental health issues, and he wasn't able to keep his environment in a level in his head that kept him straight. So when he did go for help, he was pushed away. And then when he would go to places like the Alley Center, everyone there enabled him by him seeing what you're describing. You can't face the devil and get away from the devil at the same time. So it's a recipe for disaster, do you think?
Oh, I think for sure. I mean, when your family member is in active addiction, you are instructed to not enable the behavior. That is a professional point of view. But in our community and in other communities, that's exactly what we are doing. We are enabling the behavior, and it's not going to end well for anyone. It's not going to protect the safety of the users. It's not going to protect the safety of the surrounding people that are involved. So
exactly. So the only and what I look at it as an educational view, looking on it from the outside, even though that I have been impacted, my family member went down that road and he didn't survive his battle with it. He's gone now, so I can't fix him, but I can try and change it so that other people don't experience losing someone the way I did. And when you see the way that these programs are like, sticking straws in oranges and just trying to suck the juice dry for as much government funding as possible to allow this to never end, this road of constantly keeping addicts addicted, it's a recipe for disaster, because how will they ever come off of it without any detoxification, without any, helping them to change their life? They're all about supplying the addict with supplies to remain addicted. And then what happens when they're high? When they're high, substances affect your brain. Okay, I'd like to bring up another slide here right now. So bear with me so that you can see that I'm not just bringing these things into my head. These are coming from actual somewheres, okay? So this again is from the Cleveland Clinic in United States. Brain chemistry. Substances affect your brain, especially your reward center of your brain. And which of us doesn't love to have our brains, a reward center in our brain, just ringing bells? So humans are biologically motivated to seek rewards. Often these rewards come from healthy behaviors, but when you spend time with a loved one or eat a delicious meal, it's the same. Your body releases a chemical called dopamine. It makes you feel pleasure. All right. Becomes a cycle, and you keep seeking out the experiences because it keeps making you feel good. Well, substances send massive surges of dopamine to your brain. Instead of feeling motivated to do things to survive, like eat and work and to spend time with your family and your loved ones, such massive dopamine levels can lead to damaging changes that affect your thoughts, affect your feelings, and most importantly, they affect your behavior. Now, when you're around your loved one, you're no longer feeling love and the urge to eat and to prepare meals. Now there's violence involved. Now you're attacking your loved ones verbally, sometimes physically. You're trying to rob them. You're stealing money. You're taking their possessions. Now you've become what we all fear is our loved one, who we cherish and value so much, has now become a monster who is just destroying our mental health. We can't do anything to fix them because there's programs that will just keep supplying them with access to drugs. We can't fix things if what we're using is a recipe to continue to keep the cycle broken. Does that make sense to you, Liv?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Sorry about cutting your story off. Can you?
No.
All right. Tell us more.
I just think I'd like to say that part of my ongoing story is where I am today. And, I live in a residential area, which is very quiet for the most part. We all kind of stick to ourselves, but when we do see each other, we talk, like we stop in the driveway, we talk, how you doing, kind of thing. But now there's this talk of the pallet shelters. And I know that we're going to get farther into that later on in this conversation we're having, but I feel like this has now become part of my story because I'm such a big advocate in people who are struggling with mental health, addictions, homelessness, everything that comes along with those three things. But I feel like I'm being characterized as ignorant when it comes to the whole pallet village conversation because I look like I'm completely against it, which I'm not. I think that, pallet village communities are a great thing. I think that a lot of positive things can come out of those communities, but it's all about, how they're going to be run. And I don't agree with how they're going to be run, who they're going to be run by. And so that's, that whole conversation is a big part of why I'm having this conversation with you, why I'm being interviewed by media, why I'm participating in protesting the location, why I've attended all the meetings regarding the location. And I just think that I just want to put out there that for anyone watching this, please, I can't make it any more clear. When you see us talking about the location, the pallet villages, please don't look at us like we're the bad guy. We don't want to help people because that's really, it's not it at all. We are against what is being shown right here on the screen, this brochure of the Ally Center of Cape Breton. This is who's going to be running it. And if you look on this brochure, do you see anything about promoting rehabilitation? No.
One thing that sticks out on this brochure to me that I find is just, I don't like how they have it worded. So, using a harm reduction philosophy and a community development approach. Now, I'm not sure which community development approach they're using here because when I think of the word community, in my mind, I'm thinking everybody in the community is included. Now, I don't think anybody in any of the communities in downtown Sydney, the North End Heritage, the North End Sydney, or the Pier Heritage Group, none of these communities were contacted or even part of the discussion. So when they're saying they're using a philosophy and a community development approach, I call BS on that. Next sentence in this brochure says we encourage citizens to engage in healthy practices. Which citizens? Just the citizens that they're getting paid to help? Or is this exclude everybody that they're not part of the Alley Center, resources? Next, so we encourage citizens to engage in healthy practices. Here's the sentence that I don't like the most: creating healthy communities across Cape Breton Island. Now, healthy communities across Cape Breton Island. I'm boggling my brain here on is having sex in public and making our children subjected to be careful for needles everywhere in the playground. Be careful for needles when you're going down a path. Be careful for those people because they're high right now. We are not allowed to be high or drunk ourselves in public. It's called intoxication in public areas, and we can go to jail for that. But if you're part of this program, we have to run if they come near us and try to rob us, assault us, harass us. So I just don't understand on how this creating a healthy community across Cape Breton is really working. Where's the healthy part? I've missed that.
Well, and going off of that, I mean, they're talking about, sorry, let me look at it again there. Healthy communities across Cape Breton Island. But yeah, like you just said, if we go against anything involved with these people that either...
We're attacked online. Exactly. We're the monsters. You own your home, you pay taxes, you have a job, you are contributing to the economy, but you are the monster, Liv. I am the monster. I am a bully because I stand up to them. I am a bully because I won't accept what they're spilling across the neighborhood as simple sugar. It's not. This is brain washing at the highest level I've ever seen in my life. To me, it's siphoning money from government funding for programs that will lead to continuation of work, because these programs are creating more of the same. So nothing's being helped here. Nothing is getting changed except the addiction population is growing. That's not the type of growth I'm looking to see in Cape Breton. Not at all.
No. Well, and a perfect example is, I mean, you said it before, you get death threats for standing up for what you believe in, and this is something that you believe in. Yep. Another example is that meeting that we had regarding the Pallet community coming into Whitney Pier. Someone was physically assaulted at that meeting.
Right.
I was emotionally assaulted for, the weight that I've gained, my hair color. I could go on and on at what this girl was saying to me, only because we were there in support for something that we believe in. Yes. And so it's not right. And the people that were running that meeting, it was very clear to them what was going on in the crowd. They were looking at it when it was happening, and they didn't care to even try and intervene to stop it. So It just goes to show you who's running these programs and what they are and what they aren't doing. And they're not doing anything positive in my...
Exactly. They are only looking at their job security and enabling the, what they consider as the fix for our community. What about the depreciation of our properties? It all goes hand in hand, Deb. It all intermingles on, basically, in my view, is destroying communities. Because if you're going to have the people who have made the community what it is, they're going to have their properties are going to be looted, ransacked, have people, coming and doing whatever they feel like, because there's no repercussions for any of the actions, because they're all seeking help. And because of the help that they're seeking is making them high and just letting a bunch of high people out into our areas to just intermingle with us, well, we have to figure out how to best live with it. That solution doesn't sit right with me. And for anybody who thinks that that's normal, you need to get brainwashed in the right way, because that is just annoying. You're not going to change our communities to make us have to be, hiding our children from what they see in their own backyards. Nobody should be subjected to these things. How is helping anybody by hurting a group of children and hurting seniors, harassing? Like, these things are not helping, and we're the monsters?
No.
Yeah. I get emotional over it because, like I said, my own brother I loved him dearly, but my brother, he made my mother terrified. My sister up in Ontario tried to help him, and he had her kids terrified. And we loved our brother. We still love our brother, but these mind-altering drugs turn our people, our loved ones, our families, our neighbors into something else, not somebody who we want in our community.
No.
They need to get the help they need, and they need to get it now. How we're doing things needs to change. It's not working. It's not working for them who need the help. It's not working for the community and where they want to have everybody live together. It's not going to be a harmonious joining of the community the way that they have it set up right now. It's a structure to fail.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said it in my interview this morning that I did, you know, people say the pallet shelters need to be somewhere. This community needs to be somewhere, which, yes, they do need to be somewhere. Where they need to be is in a non-residential area where they still have access to the things they need: transportation, food, water, hydro, all those things. But what they also need access to is the rehabilitation programs. The whole point, and New Dawn has made this very clear, the whole point of these pallet villages is for them to live there until they're able to get access to affordable housing. Okay, so great. You're in the pallet community. You're continuing on the lifestyle that you're in, whether that's in mental health, whether that's in addiction. Mm-hmm. When you get to that affordable housing, if you're still living the way that you've been living, how are you going to be able to maintain to live in that affordable housing? That's what I don't understand. You need to fix the problem in order to move forward in that life. And I don't see how whatever these programs are that they're offering is going to help someone be able to become,
Well, for the last 25 years, as Christine Porter, the one who runs the Alley Center, she stated that she's been in her position for 25 years, and I believe it, because for the last 25 years, I've seen nothing but an increase every year after year under her direction of more and more people needing that service. If you are a good service provider and you are truly trying to help, the numbers should reflect in a negative manner. The scale should show that the recovery is working and there's less addicts, but the scale has gone up the wrong way. The scale has gone up in the way where there's more and more and more, because they're enabling it by allowing people to go in, have easy access to ways to get high. They're around people who are still part of the addict group, we'll call them, and you can't get away from something while you're surrounded by something. You can't do it. So the recipe that they're using is flawed, and they're the only ones who don't see a problem with it, because they, at the end of the day, have a great job and they've got job security. So, like the pharmaceutical companies aren't about to release the cures because they make way more money on the pills. Well, this is the same type of scenario. They're not ready to cure people because curing people will end job security. Okay? 100%, Deb, it's the recipe for disaster. So that's basically what I had to say today. Liv, I'm going to let you finish up the show, sweetheart, and continue to tell everybody what else you want to say.
Yeah, so I just think that, it was great that Tim Houston attended our meeting. Mm-hmm. I think that it was great that at the end of the meeting, but the next day when he was interviewed, he said that, he had the opportunity to listen to all of our current concerns, and that the location, I can't remember his exact words, but he pretty much said that the location is not off the table, that, there is a possibility something can be reconsidered. All those things are great, but I don't think anyone's really going to take him seriously until we start seeing positives in other aspects, like getting more programs for help, not just having these harm reduction sites. We need more rehabilitation, more access for mental health programs. And that's not just for people who are attending the like clients of the Ally Center where they have full access to things. We need more access for people like me who have been in recovery, are continuing their path in sobriety. We need more access to things that will help us continue the paths that we're on. I just think that where we're at in life is not good enough, and that we need more help and not enabling. I like the saying, recovery is the answer, enabling is the cancer. Or, share hope, not dope.
Yes, exactly. And while there is dope, there will be no hope.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not a good public speaker. I don't like doing this. I get extreme anxiety from sitting here, talking about my story. I'm not the kind of person that likes to put myself out there, but I have 4 kids that I need to worry about, and I won't be able to sleep at night if I just sit around and don't at least try to get some help. So that's where I'm at in all of this. And I think that for the people that think that we're the monsters because we're putting up a fight, you know what? If that's what makes you sleep better at night, then I guess so be it. But
Right?
You're wrong. We're not monsters. We're trying to get more help and more awareness for people, not just let them live the way they are and enable the habits. So that's where I'm at with it all.
Exactly. Guys, we appreciate you tuning into today's special. It was a very hot topic. You have all been very respectful. And now we will leave it to, everybody out there who thinks we are the monster. And Janet, Ivan the Terrible will sign off for now. Have a great day, and thanks for tuning in. Thanks so much, Liv. Have a great one, darling. Bye.